Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandy Glaze. Today is November 24th, 2020. It's exactly 3 weeks past the American production called the election revolution. I don't even know what you would call that. And things are starting to heat up in a lot of places. And people are starting to ask, what can they do? What can they do? What should they be doing outside of the common sense, preparing, having food and water and looking after yourself that way and having some supplies? And so what I want to do is just share some ideas with people. So what's happening in the United States that I'm seeing, people are catching on that the media is lying to them, that all of the stations are saying the same thing, which is all part of NLP programming. This is, if you hear things enough times, you're going to believe it's true. So NLP is aware of this, the hypnotherapists are aware of this, that's the educators are aware of this. That's why it takes so long to go through the education system, so that you can be indoctrinated to believe what you get told. What is really funny is watching some of the reporters on the ground, and one was CNN, and in the background, the crowd is yelling, CNN sucks, and drowned her out, especially with her mask on. She couldn't say what she wanted to report back to the station. So people are catching on, and this is a good thing, because as much as it's important not to abuse others, it's important that people stand up for themselves and say, I've had enough. That's the other side of the boundary, saying, I'm not going to tolerate somebody else's behavior. And that's just part of a healthy give and take relationship. So ultimately, the election's not the goal. The election is the means to an end. We are the goal, capturing us and keeping our consciousness low so that we can be controlled and manipulated and harvested for energy. That's the goal. So as we're watching what's happening in the United States and the election and all the games that are starting to come to light, we can still look after ourselves. One thing that I did want to say that is happening in the United States, I've seen reports. There's a fellow who watches certain, I didn't say a website, and he was watching planes, and he said normally there's about 200 planes in the skies over the United States at any one time, and he just came back on and saw 2,000 planes. So something is going on down there. Some of the planes were in Canada, some of them were around the Toronto region, some were, I'm going to say Detroit, Windsor, some were on top of Lake Superior. So Canada's part of this the criminal element that they're trying to clean out. And I believe there was some more Winnipeg and Saskatchewan way. I don't recall seeing any in BC, but I could be wrong on that. So what can we do when all this is happening? And the other thing, the planes were reporting, there was planes flying back and forth from Washington, D.C. to Cuba, to the southern tip of Cuba. And some of you know what's located at the southern tip of Cuba. So things are starting to happen. And this is part of keeping the faith, that just because we can't see it doesn't mean good things aren't happening. So ultimately, it is the human consciousness that they want to suppress. They want to keep us basically sheep, but they also want to be able to harvest our energy. And this is what we can do in the meantime, is remember what it is to be aware and bring our consciousness up. So as all of this starts to unfold, and I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of, I think the history books are going to need to be rewritten. And when some of this information comes out and they say, no, this is the true nature of consciousness, this is how the solar system works, this is how energy works, the people who have gone through and been able to clear out some past emotional pain and suffering and can align energetically and understand how to raise their awareness, they're going to be in a position to be able to accept what's coming. The election is not the end game. Change is the end game. Coming into our true nature and understanding where we should have been at. I think we're about 70 years behind in technology. And I think the military has the technology, and maybe certain governments have the technology. But as it starts to get introduced to the people, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to adjust to the changes. So this is partly why we want to wake up our own innate knowing. I often talk about the balance between masculine and feminine energy. And the reason why, there are two energies, male and female. Electromagnetic. The Chinese get it, they have yang and yin. The Indians get it, they have Shiva and Shakti. Whitey doesn't get it. They're trying to tell Whitey that they have 6 genders and 58 sexual identities just to confuse people. There's 2 genders, male and female. All of our body parts are set and they're either electric or they're magnetic. Everything is divinely designed until people got their brains in there and tried to use their left brain thinking and manipulate people into thinking we are different than what we really are. So I want to talk about the masculine and the feminine energy. And so what's happened in the education system, what's happened in our society is it's been very left brain focused. Left brain focus is the intellect. It's the learned mind. If you tell something and repeat it over and over, your left brain is designed to be able to retain that information, but it doesn't mean it's true. The right brain is the one that deals with your intuition, your extrasensory perceptions, your knowing, the innate knowing without explaining it. But all of this is connected from the heart. So we kind of got it backward, like the patriarchy goes from the head down, and really it should be coming from the heart and expanding both ways, up and down. But that's what's happened. So education has been so hijacked to take people away from our true innate knowing that people are having trouble, they're trying to logically find their way through all this stuff, and you can't do that. But this is where we want to come into our heart. So our right brain function, as I just said, was more connected with the heart, but it also involves our creativity, our ability to use our imagination, because that is the way we were designed, that we were supposed to see in front of our eyes as if we were watching like a movie in front of a movie screen in front of our eyes, and dreaming of the future we wanted, dreaming of what we wanted to experience. But our society has been turned into a Luciferian system that everything is inverted. Good is bad, bad is good. Everything is designed to demoralize, and I talk about this a lot, but that's the way it's designed. Everything's taught to slow down our energy, whether it's the fluoride in the water, the glyphosates in the food. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all been designed to slow us down. And this is where we have an opportunity to change all of that. So when we out-vibrate these inverted systems, when we know the media is lying to us, when we reject what is wrong, we naturally and innately line up and attune to what is right. So sometimes you have to take out the darkness to put the light, make room for the light to come in. I know I've talked about this before. That's how this works. So when we start rejecting what we know is a lie. I was trying to think of another example, but I can't think of another example right now. So when we come through the inverted systems, it is through our heart, through love, collaboration, through connection, that we start to really start working together as one consciousness. Now, what I'm seeing happening, even on social media, there's a saying, I think, therefore I am, and it was a lie. People think because they have a thought and they can post it that somehow it makes sense or it's intelligent. It is not. And this is really important, that we go inside and start feeling through our heart, feeling our heart energies, feeling what it means like when you speak. Can you feel it in your heart when you speak to somebody? When you listen to somebody, do you listen with your heart? When you're even out in nature, are you feeling what's going on with your heart? And when we start coming back to this space, our heart space, the competition drops away. You don't need to win all the time. You just start to see the beauty in the nature and what's around you and what's good around you. And it just takes the fight out. It takes the edge off. And this is so important because everybody's taught that they've got to argue every point. And it doesn't matter if they're splitting hairs or they're going in the exact opposite direction. It's that the left brain is, I think the left brain is showing it's crazier than it's ever been. That's what I'm starting to see anyways. So when we know connecting with our heart, when we know how to do that with every, let's say you practice, you start going through, maybe you start with an hour a day if you're not doing this already. So maybe you're cleaning your house, do it lovingly from a place that you know that you're keeping a clean space for yourself or your family. If you're making a meal, do it knowing that you're being creative, and maybe you have a flair in the kitchen, but know that you're doing it from a place of love, that you're making a great meal for the people you love and for yourself. If you're making this meal for yourself, know when you're chopping the vegetables that this is going to be a fantastic creation. Understand when you're good at what you do. I was working with someone recently, and she knows she's a good cook, but she kind of goes, yeah, I'm a good cook. And I'm like, no. You describe the food you're making. You put a lot of love into your food, but it's okay to own that and then bring the love into you naturally and just feel it around you. Because when you can speak love from your heart, when you can listen with love from your heart, When you can just be the essence of love, something changes. People notice you. And it's not that you want to be the center of attention, but they sense the energy is changing. And this is what we can do while all the insanity unfolds in the United States. It's gonna happen globally, because there's just some rogue factions of government that don't want people to get their power back. So when we're seeing some of this happen, maybe it's not going to be in your immediate area, but it doesn't mean that you don't feel the collective conscious energy and know that people are afraid, people are scared, people are uncertain. But when you see that or feel that, then you can turn your energy around to make sure that you're not absorbing their energy, but also just hold the space where you are. And I don't want to say project it out, but be it. And then practice with your own energy field. And I show people how to do this sometimes. And all we do is we come back to our breath, always come back to our breath, and breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale slowly for 8, and feel inside your body. What does it mean to feel inside your body? You feel tension, feel the empty on the 8. Breathe in for 4. What do you feel? Hold for 4. You feel tension, tightness, tingling. Breathe out slowly for 8. And as you breathe out, bring your awareness into what part of your body that you're feeling anything. Even if it's a void, as you're feeling a void, sit on the empty. What does it mean to be empty? Breathe in for 4. You should be calming down. Hold for 4. And as you breathe out for 8, ask your body, what do you need to know? If you come from your higher self, you can talk to your body. You're in charge. And often what I do, when I want to start practicing feeling my field, you can go back to your normal breathing. I feel in my body. I feel if there's any tension anywhere, anything I need to know about. And then I expand what I feel, and I feel my body plus 1 inch outside it. And then I imagine the energy. What's in that energy in that 1 inch? And then I imagine 1 foot outside. What's in that energy in that foot, the foot around you? And you can go 10 feet. What's in the 10 feet around you? Is it furniture, crystals, oils? Is there hydro? Is there your floor surfaces? What's around you? What's underneath you? Now you go 1 yard outside, 1 meter outside your body. And then you can go 100 feet outside your body. And then you can go 1 kilometer outside your body and start feeling what's going on in your neighborhood. If you do this from a higher level of being balanced between your male and female energy, that's what you call your 0 point. When you're in there, you can sense things and pick up things that you might not have otherwise picked up. This is how we're supposed to use our higher sensory perceptions. There's people who can go in remote view. There's people who intuitively know. There's remote healers. You can go in and read somebody's energy field. You can sense, and with this energy, the consciousness that's being raised now, we can sense things about people that we might not have picked up before. And I was recently talking to somebody, and he was going on about the COVID stuff, and right off the bat, I could feel his fear. And I said, you're in fear. And he didn't want to go there. He kind of went into denial about it. And it's like, it's not a judgment. You're in fear. Why? And then he got defensive, and it's like, that's not what this is about. Why are you in fear? What is amazing about that conversation was then I could start realizing that fear is the emotion that they're triggering. Adrenaline is the hormone they want to harvest from us. So we all know that our adrenals is what creates adrenaline. And when we're in fear or prolonged state of fear, that is heightened. That's what's being harvested off us. Even if we're not physically being attacked, we're etherically being attacked. But that's what that awareness allowed me to do. Just in that brief conversation online, I could sense that person's emotions and knew it was fear. And then that allowed me to look into all the adrenaline. So we know adrenochrome is being harvested from the children but they terrorize them, torture them, put them in an awful state, and then harvest the blood. But it's still happening etherically to us. So it's really important that we understand the role fear plays. Fear is the emotion, adrenaline is the hormone they want to harvest. So it took me down a whole new rabbit hole about hormones, which I'm going to look into a little further. But we're starting to wake up. And if we can stay centered, I didn't get caught up in the conversation. I got caught up in, it's the adrenaline they want from all of us. And this is what they don't teach us on a human level. They don't teach us the hormones and why they're so important. Because I think that is the chemical that is released that the dark energies want to feed on. Haven't got it all sorted out yet, but that's kind of where I'm going. So it's really important that we can feel what goes on around us. You can expand this. Like I can go right out and feel what's going on across the world. I can go up into the higher dimensions and feel what's going on there. I can't always see it, but I can feel something is going on. So they do not want us coming into our heart energy, our feeling energy, because the heart chakra is the gateway to our higher sensory perceptions. This is what they don't want us to know. And this is why we live on an abused planet. There's nothing but pain, suffering, and tyranny for so many people, with all the wars, all the displacement of people who live in different countries, cultures getting torn apart, families getting torn apart, this COVID fiasco. All of it is designed to keep people in fear and not being able to connect. But while all of whatever is unfolding in the United States is happening, we can pay attention to it, get a sense of what's going on, but we can also keep working on ourselves, because when that passes and we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, we're still going to be growing. It's not going to be over then. That's just going to be the catalyst that clears the way that we can actually step into our higher self, our power. So a lot of people are focused right now, like I said, even on social media, you make a comment and they got to come in and just bomb it or whatever, but they're focusing on that. But what they don't focus on is their vertical connection. And I think I've talked about this last time. It is your physical form. It is your ego self, which is your lower self. We need egos when you're in the physical form on this planet. Otherwise, you get creamed, right? So we do need an ego, but you still have to be in charge of your ego. So we have our physical form, we have our ego, we have our higher self, we have our one self, God self, source connection, whether that's prime creator, universe. Some people struggle with the word God. I appreciate that. Some people don't, whatever works for you. But this is how we're meant to feel the energy around us and know what's going on. Because part of the telepathy in my mind's eye is being able to sense what that person is feeling without them even talking to you, without them telling you what's going on, that you can sense that. That's, I think, how we're supposed to be able to communicate more effectively. And when we can read the energy, just like people are seeing CNN for what it is right now, these guys are all, I think they're all three-letter agency workers, narcissists, sociopaths, or worse. Who cares if I'm right or wrong? That's what I see. Anybody who can systemically sit and lie and lie and lie and doesn't have any qualms about it, isn't questioning anything, isn't asking why they're all saying the same thing. Either you're stupid, you're complicit, or you're one of them, and I don't care which one it is. But like I said, we have a chance right now to see this, and then going forward, you're going to see what politicians are lying when they stand up before you even elect one. You're going to be able to read the energy, and it's not going to be your ego or your political affiliation that makes you decide who you're going to vote for. It's going to be who's telling the truth, who's going to do the best for the people, who is going to invert the patriarchy and put the people at the top. Then it's the politicians and the frontline workers who serve. That's the way the structure is supposed to be. It's not the politicians are here at the front line and then the people footing the bill, the taxpayer. The people are at the top. Frontline, politicians, and then I'm not even going to say institutions. I think that is all falling aside. We definitely need history books rewritten, because everything we are told is absolute garbage. It's a lie. And when we do find out the truth, I think we're going to be able to we're going to be able to make higher leaps and bounds, because we've done all the work at this point. So we already know, when we come from our hearts, it's our heart that sends the information to our mind. That's when your intuition goes yes or no. I'm not sure about that. That's your heart that's connecting through the right brain function. Yes, we need our left brain to be able to make things happen. but that's how this works. It's all comes from the heart. So I'm trying to think of who wrote this book, The Heart Never Lies. My understanding, it's our heart that was our original pineal gland. It was the heart that was the third eye. So I look at all the fluoride that's been in the water. I talk about this almost every time, but I look at the fluoride that's in the water that's designed to make the pineal gland smaller and calcify it. But it's our heart that we open at the same time as we're trying to open our pineal gland, and maybe we end up using both of them to create the world we want. And I said this before, that the Western world is not broken. A lot of people have said the legal system is broken. No, it's corrupt. It's Luciferian, and it's designed that way so that they can keep harvesting our emotions, our hormones, our chemicals, and in some cases, our blood. Okay, so I already talked about fear. I talked about that. Our systems, especially the education system, I go on about this a lot, are what's ruining the humanities. And it's what's ruining humanity. These systems are created and intentionally put in place, I talked about this last time, to steer the heart of humanity and to steer it into the left brain thinking, which can be manipulated. And I was watching an episode of Big Bang Theory. This was years ago. I'm not a big TV buff, but sometimes you just end up watching it. And there was an episode where this young kid came in to Sheldon and I don't know, the guy with the glasses, I can't remember his name. They were coming into their university and he was really smart. And what they did to this kid, they introduced him to alcohol and got him interested in girls. And the very last scene is him on the grass, rolling around. You can tell he's drunk or he's high. And he's got girls, he's kissing them and they're kissing him. And the three, I can't remember their name, Leonard, I think it was Leonard, Sheldon, I can't remember the other one. Anyways, they stop for a second and they feel guilty. And they look at each other and they walk on. They know what to do to lower people's morality within the university structures. They know how to distract you from what your innate knowing is. And we have to stop giving these places consideration or assuming that they're decent. And I'll give the example. I come back to the University of Toronto quite often. I think the University of Toronto was built and opened in 1864 or 1868, around that time. The University of Toronto is an offshoot of the Church of England. And we know all the sex scandals in the Church of England. Church of England is an offshoot of the Roman Catholic Church. So it's all, this has been going on for centuries, that they've been using the universities to corrupt people's minds, corrupt people's morality. And when we stop holding them up on the pedestal the same way that they're doing with the media, or they were doing with the media, they were doing with Hollywood, you can start to see what they are. I think we need a whole new form of learning, a whole new platform of curriculums that are telling the truth. And I don't think the universities are going to do that. There's no financial incentive for them to be honest or decent. So I think we're going to have to maybe look at alternative education sources so that we can get the right information out there. And I really think that's important, because if we don't realize how who we are as humans and how to bring our bodies on, and I'm going to jump here a little bit. Someone posted this morning that their phone all of a sudden downloaded an app and wants them to donate money to children in Africa. And he's like, what the heck? I didn't download this. So the computer his phone just went ahead and did it for him anyways. If you are not paying attention to what's going on and commanding your space, including the use of your electronics, it's going to do it to you. So this is why it's really important to command your space. I sometimes when I zone out, I play free cell. And the one that I pull up, I always notice the advertisements in the columns on the side. And sometimes I'll hit the X and block out the advertisement. But what I've noticed recently, it's got a triangle logo sideways on it. I still think that's the pedophilia logo that's on your Google adrenochrome search engine. So they're still subliminally sending us messages with these symbols that aren't good for us, that aren't that do not inspire humanity. So it's really important that we understand how all this works. So going back to the education, I think so I said it's about moral decay, but it's also about mind control, because our mind is just one of the antennas that send out information and bring information in. It comes from our hearts where we can process it, but we are going to have to really heighten our awareness if we're going to stay ahead of this game and stay ahead of the, I'm going to say, the dark agenda, because it's also gaining steam and doing its best to gain steam right now. So it's really important that we do that. So so let's look at all the genius of what is happening right now. We are watching in the United States. I heard Trump was conceding to Joe Biden, and I'm like, I know it's not true, but I really wasn't sure what was happening. And my understanding is he has to get Joe Biden into office for Joe Biden to show who his picks are for cabinet. And then they are going to arrest these people because they've already got all the files on them. So, and I keep talking about the shoplifting analogy. You can't arrest a person until they've left the store. And I do hear there's many arrests happening in Cincinnati, in Pennsylvania. There's councilors, mayors being arrested for voter fraud. So this is starting to happen. And it does, I don't know whether it matters if you chip away at the bottom level, the middle level, the top level, if there's one way that's better than the other, but they seem to be chipping at right across the board. And arrests are starting to happen. And this is exciting to see. I'm excited for it. It's not that I want anybody to be in trouble. I want the abuse to stop. And these people aren't going to stop on their own. They're not going to be on the honor system and do the right thing. So somebody will have to step in and deal with them. But it is starting to happen. And what is they're going to keep trying to do is encourage the people who are standing up, who are saying no more. They're going to try to encourage them that it's hopeless, that Trump's given up. And I know some people are feeling that way right now. He's not giving up. Nothing is changing what is coming. And we can keep pace with it in our own way, but keep pace in such a way that we go into the next steps. What happens once the arrests happen? What happens once the trials start? Then what's going to happen when they're over? What happens when everybody's been dealt with? Life is going to go on for all of us, but it's going to be a brighter future. There's going to be more technologies available to us. There's going to be more resources available to us. The energies are changing. You can sense it already. I don't sense as many demons on the earth as I did even a year ago. And so I see a lot of that changing. If we get our energy flowing the right way again and start aspiring to be our best self, to grow into our best self, I think humanity is going to make leaps and bounds in a very short period of time. So that's just my opinion. But that's what I see happening. So in the meantime, practice coming into your heart. Practice feeling. And I know people are going through traumatic experiences right now, and they don't want to feel. And sometimes that's the exact opposite of what you should do. Let your heart get broken open. People are losing loved ones. Let your heart get broken open. Feel the pain. Because when you can feel the pain, you can feel the good. And that's the difference. The idea is that you can feel, but you stay aligned in your own energy field as you're feeling this. Stay with it and you stay present with it. So things are going to get scary. There's a lot of people are terrified they're losing their businesses and they're defying the rules. So far, I haven't seen the police do anything wrong, but I really want the police to understand it's the taxpayer that pays your salary. It's not your police board. It is not your city. It is not the Crown. It is not your government agency who pays your salary. It is the people's tax dollars that pay your salary. We need you guys. But we need you to have integrity, to do the right thing. We need you and you need us. And I think if we can start aligning with some of the front line and showing them how to act in a way that it doesn't go against their conscience, because at the end of the day, that's all any of us have. When you're in the bathroom in the morning and you're shaving in the mirror and you look in your eyes, can you look yourself in the eye and say, I love you, I respect you? That's what all of this is about staying true to yourself. So I want to go through and I'm going to talk about some attributes of masculine and feminine energy, just to give people an idea of what to be aiming for. And a lot of this people already know. They just need to be reminded. They need to remember again what it means to be aspiring to be your best self, because that's what all of this was supposed to be about, being our best self. And I'm just going to share some of these words with you here. So this chart, I have higher and shadow traits of masculine and feminine energy. All energy is male and female, but there's traits that lead us to feel good about ourselves, and there's traits that are maybe our shadow or a negative self. How I use this tool is I would have people go through and look at the masculine traits and find out which ones resonate with you. So you went inside with the breathing, you could feel in your body. Go in and do that again with a breath of 4, hold for 4, release for 8. Do you have integrity? And there's no shame in this exercise. It's about seeing what you're really naturally good at and what you're drawn to. And you already know your weaknesses. You don't need me or anybody else to point it out. You already know what you do that you shouldn't. And maybe you want to get a pen and paper or pause this for a minute and just write them down. So higher masculine traits: integrity, leadership, powerful. Trustworthy is a big one for men. You want to be trustworthy. Goal-oriented, action, disciplined, responsible, respectful is a big one, honorable, stoic. I'm going to say strong. The male energy is represented by number 1, which is standing tall and standing straight. The feminine energy is the number 2, which she can bend, but she doesn't break. And the Christed child is number 3, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Protective, analytical, rational, the positive polarity, active, regal, inspiring, objective, ambitious, improving, heroic, independent, intelligent. The masculine energy is the giving energy, and a lot of us have got that backward, and it's the women always giving of themselves. They are the receiving energy. It's masculine to give, feminine to receive. Chivalrous, linear, compartmentalized, and doing. So write down 3 of them, and you might have other words that you associate with the masculine that you identify with, and it's okay to do that. There's no right or wrong to it. It's just you want to understand when you're reaching for the positive, the stars. Higher feminine traits: warm, loving, collaborative. A lot of women are competitive now because they've been raised in a masculine, patriarchal society, so they compete worse than the men at times. Soft, caring, relational, emotional, surrendering, creative, receptive, sensitive, dependent. The negative polarity: women can create and women can destroy, which we've seen, and it's just what it is. Doesn't mean you're a negative person, it's just the negative polarity. Intuitive, content, content, passive, playful, delightful, cooperative, beautiful, graceful, trusting, vulnerable, heart-centered, expressive, empathic, conceptual, holistic, resting, receiving, and being. Those are the traits that are natural, masculine and feminine. And when we put both, the good on both sides together, that's when we come from our higher self, our best self possible. And it is about being our best self, especially when we're encouraged to turn on each other, to fight with each other, to label each other, to find what's different about each other. This is how we're supposed to align inside. The shadow masculine traits: controlling, dominant, hard, overbearing, aggressive, competitive when not called for. Masculine energy, before sports got corrupted, masculine energy would compete to the strength. Women don't do that. Women pull each other down. But masculine energy was meant to compete to see who was the best at it and to hone their skills. And with all the corruption that's in the sports right now, that doesn't happen anymore. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that. So competitive when not called for. So it's okay to still be competitive. It's okay to still, whether you're out playing a sport, to be competitive, but not to the point that it's you're overbearing or abusive. Emotionless, heartless, and abusive. And if you feel you identify with any of those, just write them down and ask yourself, what can I do to stop that? And I don't care what the answer is. You don't answer to anybody but yourself. And this is where I'm hoping we get rid of some of the codependence in our society. Western society is so codependent. They'll say people have dissociative disorder. You look at Hollywood, that is the most dissociative disorder going on the planet. Yet people revere the stars. It's another one, the codependent. They say people are codependent. You can't have an opinion without somebody jumping on you nowadays in society. Society itself is codependent, and it's designed that way. But we have a chance to change that, control ourselves, because that's what you have a right to do. You have the right to say what happens for your body, but control ourselves and let other people make their own decisions. This consciousness is raising, and as it is, and we're going into our higher abilities, we won't need to be focused on each other as much as we are. So the shadow feminine traits, notice controlling is both on the male and the female side. Insecure, passive aggressive, and we're seeing a lot of the politicians who are playing dirty right now are passive aggressive regardless if they're male or female. Naive, there's a lot of naive people out here right now. Gullible, the naive could be caused by the fluoride as well. Erratic, gullible's a big one too. You believe why the system, because you've got medical people you put in authority telling you what to do, that they're somehow all of a sudden have a say over all aspects of your life. Have we lost our minds? Some people have. Erratic, and notice men can have the weak feminine, and men can have the weak masculine, and same is the women. So passive aggressive, belittling, bitchy, timid, manipulative, naive, gullible, erratic, conforming to somebody else's expectations of you when it goes against common sense, or you don't have the guts to even know who you are before you decide what you're conforming to, is very weak feminine energy. And I'm going to say this, whether it's the estrogen that is showing up in so many products in our society, there's a lot of men who are very conforming, and there's nothing more of a turnoff for women than when men are weaker than they are. And it doesn't mean the women are too strong. Some men just conform because that's what they do. That, if you want a yuck, that's a yuck, conforming. Illogical, confused, enabling, powerless, and the appearance of being crazy. So these are just some of the traits of the masculine and feminine. Doesn't matter what culture you're from, doesn't matter how you're raised. But when you start looking at who do you want to be as a woman? Do you want to be receptive to receiving good things? Do you want to be creative? Do you want to have the joy and the laughter and the fun? Women were designed to be more immature than men because they were meant to be the ones that were going to be home with the children. So they had to be immature to play at that level. But we've lost sight of that as we compete with the men all the time for jobs, for income, for every materialistic thing that they are deeming to be of value, which is not. Are you sensitive? Can you surrender? What are you surrendering to? Are you surrendering to another human being? Are you surrendering to Creator? You're surrendering to love? What does surrender mean? I know a lot of women get very defensive for that word, but are you surrendering to all that can be, ever will be? What are you surrendering to? If you're a male, what do you aspire to? Do you have integrity? Are you trustworthy? And I know some men, they know they're trustworthy. They know they're honest. They just know. And I'm not telling anybody which of these traits to align to, but just to start looking at it for yourself. Who are you for yourself? Who are you within your intimate partner relationship? Who are you within your family dynamic? What do you stand for? Stand for honor, truth, integrity? What do you stand for? And this is what we can be focused on while all the insanity unfolds around us. And there's so many good resources out there that are keeping us up to date as to what's happening. Things are moving pretty fast, but it's okay for us. Well, they move fast in the external world, it's okay for us to move faster in the internal world as we elevate our consciousness and get back in touch with who we are. So I hope you found this helpful and just something that you can do, even if you just want to stay out of the public right now. A lot of people are feeling overwhelmed with what they're hearing and what people are saying to them. So if you want to go inside, this is just a great tool to be able to do that. What does love mean to you? Do you love your neighbor? Do you want what's best for humanity? How can you do that? By commanding your emotions and your consciousness inside. How can you be one of the leaders who are going to show people how to do this? Because they're going to need to know. But they have to learn from somebody who has integrity and wants the best, absolute best for everybody, regardless who they are. And this is where I think we're going to see a lot of the changes that are going to be happening. So I hope you found this helpful. If you want to see more of these videos, by all means, hit the subscribe button. You can hit the notification bell and it'll let you know when I'm coming out with another video. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live or do a question and answer. If anybody's interested in the question and answer segment, if they want to ask particular questions about where I see things are going or how we can get more aligned with our energy and not be duped by this dysfunctional, sexually retarded education system. And that goes for the politicians too. Like there's a lot of them that are they're just out to lunch. They don't not understand how energy works. But it's about getting yourself back aligned. And if you want to do a question and answer, I don't know if you want to do one on Zoom or if you want to do a Facebook Live, but if I could get a little bit of feedback on that, I'd appreciate it. So by all means, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you want to reach me, Sandy at endinggloballoneliness.com. Or you can visit my website. I'm on Facebook, Sandy Glaze, and I'm on Twitter, End in Loneliness. And let's do this, because all of a sudden things are going to start to change, and we are part of this change. All of us are. If you're awake and you want to see good things happen, you're part of this. And this is fantastic that all this is happening. But I'm not here to help arrest people. I'm not here to do any of that kind of stuff. But I am here to help bring in the changes. I know I am. And once you know what you're here to do, nothing can stop you. It doesn't matter what anybody says to you. They're not going to steer you off course, because you know. So I hope you found this helpful, and I'll be back in touch hopefully sooner than later. And we've got this. And stay positive. Hold the line. No matter what you hear, Trump is not conceding. The White Hats are not conceding. We're following through on this, and what we're watching happen is the decay of a very corrupt and Luciferian system. And I say good riddance to it. So let's on with the new. Okay, thank you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, take care.